rounding up the funds.
I have reconciled the books. I have tied them to source documents.
The Senior Center in Roundup looking to regain its state and federal money after it was taken away. Plus concerns over teacher conferences.
There was a lot of fully charged political agenda that was being taught.
The Educator conference is being completely misrepresented.
Pushback begins after state leaders push to end the two-day event, claiming they've become too woke. And taking a test.
4 questions on the polygraph for only $500. Took 3.5 hours.
The former PSC president turns to a lie detector test in hopes of proving his innocence. The MTN 10 o'clock news starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Well, good evening and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday night. I'm Russ Riesinger. The Senior Center in Roundup is surviving tonight despite no funding since April. It comes after allegations of misuse of funds, something the center denies, saying there is no gross negligence. As our Vanessa Willardson reports, they've been operating solely on donations for those 7 months, but now they're looking to get that funding back.
For Betty Haynes,
I come partly because it's like a family.
The Roundup Senior Center is an important part of her community.
The veterans are really close here, and I appreciate them and everything, and so we come to support them and to feed the elderly.
But that senior center has been functioning off of donations for nearly 7 months.
We're doing our best that we can, and you can see where the money was spent.
It's due to claims that the center mismanaged money.
We're not blowing it.
In June, Marcy Brookie, executive director of Area 2 Agency on Aging, which funds the center, told the center they would no longer receive funding. She claims it was due to inadequate financial controls and accusations of internal embezzlement, among other items. But according to accountant Melissa Carlson, who reviewed the center's books,
I have reconciled the books. I have tied them to source documents.
that is not the case.
They had $100,000 reserves, which they no longer have. And what I found is that with increasing their services and inflation, most of that went to raw food and then cook's wages.
The board held a meeting Tuesday afternoon with hopes to show Brookie the review and take steps to restore funding.
We'd like to get our funding returned, and we'd like to get a lot of questions answered.
The board did invite Brookie and the Muscle County Commissioner, who is appointed to sit in on these meetings. However, both of them did not attend.
This board had reached out to that board asking for some of the evidence of the accusations that were presented to us. We've never heard back from that board.
We reached out to Brookie to hear her side of the story, but have not received an answer. In Billings, Vanessa Willardson, MTN News.
Election day is a week away with the mayor and several city council seats up for grabs in Billings. But some Yellowstone County voters, 880 so far, have had their ballots rejected leading up to Election Day. The culprit, a new rule requiring voters to write their birth year next to their signature on the envelope. The requirement is an attempt to increase voter security. Election Administrator Dana Cosby says her office is working tirelessly to contact impacted voters and make sure the ballots are counted on time.
We're taking the extra steps of finding voters' contact information, whether that be by phone or email or both.
Once contacted, voters have until 5 p.m. the day after the election to resolve issues. That means submitting the proper paperwork along with a photo ID by either mail, email, or in person. On Capitol Hill, the Senate failed for the 13th time to advance a funding bill to open the government as Democrats continue to hold out for an extension to health care subsidies that they say will dramatically raise premiums for millions if allowed to expire. Meanwhile, 25 states and the District of Columbia are suing the Trump administration over plans to freeze SNAP food assistance payments, arguing the law requires the government to provide those funds for November. 42 million Americans are in danger of losing federal food assistance November 1st because of the shutdown. Montana has close to 80,000 SNAP recipients. Well, support behind Montana's political leaders is not exactly strong at the moment, according to the MSU Billings new Mountain States poll that was released today. That poll, which is done by 11 political science students, received more than 850 responses through online surveys and phone calls. This year's results showed that Governor Greg Gianforte's approval rating now sits at 37%, with Senator Steve Daines coming in even lower at 31%. Montana's other Senator Tim Sheehy had a 34% approval rating. In almost all of the cases, around 35% of those responding reported being neutral or unfamiliar with the candidate. On the national level, Montanans are equally satisfied and dissatisfied with the policies of President Trump, with 41% happy and 41% unhappy with his performance. The one thing most agree on, 73%, is that U.S. politics have become more polarizing. The margin of error in this poll is 3.35%. Tonight, Montana Republican leaders hope to end teacher conferences, calling them too woke and full of extreme leftist ideology. That language coming from Montana Senate President Matt Riesinger and State Superintendent of Public Instruction Susie Hedlund. Tonight, our Hannah Pettiferi dives into the concerns lawmakers have and how conference organizers say those accusations are not true.
It's 2 days on every school calendar that students eagerly look forward to. A 2-day break from school for Montana teachers to attend Educator conferences. But this long tradition could soon be a practice of the past if Republican leadership has its way.
They have PRR days and do training, and there was a lot of fully charged political agenda that was being taught at that.
That's Montana Senate President Matt Riesinger, who is sounding the alarm on what he calls woke teacher conferences and proposing a bill in the next legislative session that would end the practice of teachers receiving educational credit at these conferences, citing concerns over what teachers are being taught.
There are 6 LGBT modules with gender unicorn, which includes discussion of physical sexual attraction. I mean, this is going to grade schoolers. DEI and art, a panel with nude children describing the censorship as a dangerous place.
Riesinger is referencing a 2024 presentation titled LGBTQ State of the State, a panel focused on gender and how students choose to identify.
There's audio recordings of, once again, liberal policies that are being pushed, and sexualized pictures and gender, DEI. All of that was still being pushed on our public teachers once again.
But the Montana Federation of Public Employees, the largest union of public employees, says that couldn't be farther from the truth.
The curriculum groups decide which courses they're going to offer, and the teachers put a lot of time and thought and energy into preparing these sessions.
MFPE President Amanda Curtis says the conferences are designed in collaboration with the Office of Public Instruction and are approved by the Montana Superintendent's Office.
The Educator conference is being completely misrepresented.
She says that MFPE coordinates with curriculum groups and hundreds of teachers.
We had 320 sessions where Montana teachers were providing best practices for professional development.
And those educators are already working to plan next year's conference, a conference that Curtis insists is not focused on controversial policies, but rather best practices taught for decades.
They're presenting lessons and presentations to help teachers help kids learn the best that they can.
In Billings, Hannah Pettiferi, MTN News.
The earliest these allegations can be debated is at the state legislative session in 2027.
Let's check out the almanac for the day with a live look with the Stockman Bank weather cam. It was a little on the cool side. 49 is 4 degrees cooler than average, and we started off 4 degrees cooler than average in the morning as well. The wind's not as strong, gust up to 25 miles per hour. Looking out towards the month of November, the Climate Prediction Center's outlook is showing it's leaning towards wetter than average. For Billings, we typically get about 0.6 of an inch precipitation during the month of November, and the temperature outlook is looking pretty close to normal. We usually start off in the low 50s and end up in the low 40s by the end of the month. Where we start the month, we'll talk about that coming up.
Hurricane Melissa made landfall today in southwestern Jamaica, with the World Meteorological Organization calling it Jamaica's storm of the century. Melissa first struck near the town of New Hope, slamming into that country as a Category 5 with winds up to 185 miles per hour. The storm, which is stronger than Hurricane Katrina, brought a storm surge of up to 13 feet. At least 7 hurricane-related deaths have been reported across the Caribbean, with the storm still expected to bring severe weather to other parts, including the Bahamas, the Turks, and the Caicos Islands. The Montana Public Service Commission has a new leader. Jeff Wellborn was elected board president in a 3-2 vote following the removal of Brad Molnar over harassment allegations. Molnar denies those claims, even taking the rare step of a lie detector test to prove his innocence. David J. has the story.
Recently, PSC Commissioners Brad Molnar and Randy Pinocci held an online news release about the results of a lie detector test that they both took.
A polygraph, I think, shows that these are the real facts. I think this is historic. When the heck has that ever happened in the history of Montana politics? Right. Well, this is the first time.
Molnar offered to pay for all the commissioners to answer questions from the polygraph examiner to show he is not guilty of the accusations he is facing.
I want to know what I'm accused of. I want it to be recorded.
Molnar says he hired Wes Beatty, a polygraph examiner in Kalispell, to administer a lie detector test to him and all the commissioners, and to answer questions related to accusations, including allegations of sexual or workplace harassment.
So I tested him over the entire definition of sexual harassment, not just, did you touch her, did you say this, did you do that, have you engaged in sexual harassment?
Commissioner Randy Pinocci says he was the only one to take up the offer. Molnar paid for the test because he wanted to prove he has acted properly, leading up to the commission voting on whether or not to remove him as president of the PSC board. According to the examiner, Molnar even alerted the media that the results would be available before he took the polygraph. Even though he paid for it, these are reliable results.
Yes. They are reliable results.
Beatty says nothing is 100%, and as a polygrapher, he phrases the results as being 90% certain that Brad Molnar is not being deceptive.
He passed, with the exception of one incident where he was confronted about something he said that someone didn't like, and they had to explain it to him 2 or 3 times before he understood what he said could be offensive.
Despite the polygraph test, the commission voted a few days later 3-2 to remove Molnar as president. At the time, Commissioner Jennifer Fielder thanked Molnar for his work. But we wanted to hear more from Fielder about the vote and the offer to take a lie detector test.
Possibility of getting an interview with Commissioner Fielder, so I just wanted to see if that was at all possible.
Despite our calls and emails over a 2-day period, the PSC executive director said that Commissioner Fielder would have to decline our interview, and the next day she said the commissioner would be involved in meetings all day. In Billings, David J., MTN News.